Cool. So create async thunk. Now, in our last classes, and we know how to create the reducers. We know how to generate actions, right? Right. But okay, so far, all the data we worked with has been directly inside of our React client application. That is true. We had data stored locally in our client application, and everything else was set up in our application, right? Everything was else set up inside our reducers. And we have never had any situation that we had to do some API calls. However, most real applications need to work with data from a server by making HTTP API calls to fetch and save items. Now, we have two options, maybe a lot of options to work with the API calls in Redux applications, but one of the two of them, I mean, two out of a lot of them is create async thunk and RTK, right? Redux toolkit query. Right? Create async thunk is one option to manage API asynchronous calls in Redux applications. At the same time, we do have RTK query right here. Okay, but we'll mention about this. Async logic and data fetching in Redux applications. We will look into how to use Redux thunk middleware for async logic, right? And the patterns for handling async request state, and how to use Redux toolkit create async thunk API to manage asynchronous calls. This link actually is coming from this one right here. Okay. Forget about this API and client. We're not gonna be doing that. Let's just here's how the flow works. Async. What? Should have just deleted this one right here. Using middleware to enable async logic. By itself, a Redux store doesn't know anything about async logic. It only knows how to synchronously dispatch actions. Update the state by calling the root reducer, as we know, function, and notify the UI that something has changed. Any asynchronicity has to happen outside the store. It says any asynchronity has to happen outside the store. Okay, but what if you want to have async logic interact with the store by dispatching actions, checking the current store state, or some kind of side effect? That's where Redux middleware come in. They extend the store to add additional capabilities. All right. So this is the logic: middleware and Redux data flow over here. Now, in the UI, we're clicking deposit $10 or withdraw $10, doesn't matter. We dispatch basically event handler, right? Dispatch deposit some money. It comes to the middleware, all right? Okay, event, click event, action thunk comes over here to the middleware. Middleware is requesting an information from API, and API can respond. How many status we can have for API calls?
2.
Yeah, it's either success or failure, right? But as soon as we send a request, there's also a waiting status, which is pending, right? Pending request is pending. Whatever, we don't know how long does it take from API endpoint to get the result. As soon as we get the result, then we'll provide that to the store, right? To the reducer function. Now, when we go to the reducer function, we need to get the current state or the previous state, and together they will decide, right? When we're dispatching, they will decide which reducer to direct, which slice to direct. Is it counter? Is it users slice? Is it poster slice? And based on that, we'll get the next updated state, and UI will be notified something changed in the state, and we'll have updated data in the UI. Now, the only difference that we have over here is the middleware. The middleware has to happen right over here, right? So these guys are for synchronous actions. Everything that's happening over here is synchronous because the data is locally. We're not doing any API calls. Okay, we are not doing any API calls. There are many kinds of async middleware for Redux, and each lets you write your logic using different syntax, right? Middleware for Redux. One of them is Redux Thunk, and Redux Toolkit's configure store function automatically sets up the Thunk middleware by default. It automatically sets up the Thunk middleware by default, and we recommend using Thunks as a standard approach for writing async logic with Redux. As we said last time, the word Thunk is a programming term that means a piece of code that does some delayed work.
Piece of code.
A piece of code that does some delayed work right here. That's part of the middleware. It's taking some time, right? We're sending a request to the API endpoint, and we don't know when API endpoint can send back us a result, right? Response. So that's the thing. Request and API doing some logic, and then response back to the middleware, and middleware will dispatch to the store. For more details, we'll definitely can take a look into that. Yeah, so what is Thunk, blah, 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 we saw it already. The Thunks may have async logic inside of them, such as set timeout, promises, async await, etc. This makes them a good place to put HTTP calls to a server API. Data fetching logic for Redux typically follows a predictable pattern. A start action is dispatched before the request. Okay, a start action is basically to indicate that the request is in progress. That's actually the pending state. This may be used to track loading state to allow skipping duplicate requests or show loading indicators in the UI. In this state, in the start action, we can show the loading the spinner in the UI, telling the user that you have to wait because we send out some requests to API endpoint, and as soon as we get the success out of the API endpoint, then we can display the result, the data. If we see some sort of an error, then we can definitely display that error too. When the request promise resolves, the async logic dispatches either a success action containing the result data or failure action containing error details. The reducer logic clears the loading state in both cases and either processes the result data from the success case or stores the error value for potential display in the UI. These steps are not required, but are commonly used if all you care about is a success. So as we said, we have three states, right? Pending, success, and failure. Right over here, it says that we don't have to worry. The steps are not required. We can just skip the pending state and the error state. We can only focus on the success state and then just display the data. But of course, in a real world scenarios, we have to worry about the error condition and also the pending condition, right? So you can just dispatch the single success action when the request finishes and skip the start and failure actions. As I said, right? There are many kinds of async middleware for Redux, and one of them is create async thunk, and the other one is RTK query, and there might be some other middlewares, right? Redux thunk. Cool. So let's try to set up, use the create async thunk. Redux Toolkit provides a create async thunk API to implement the creation and dispatching of actions describing an async request. Let's try to practice it. This is the basic usage of how to create async thunk. Okay, this is how we're gonna use it. 1 second. 1 second. Cool. Let's take a look how we can create async thunk. So let's go back to over here. For this example, I do have mock API, and I'm going to use this fake items. All right, this is going to be our URL endpoint to reach out and display in the UI. Right, they do have different IDs for each of them. For whatever it's worth, I will be sharing this link with you guys in Zoom chat. Okay, this is going to be our API endpoint. And this API endpoint, we can do anything. We can create, we can read, we can update, or we can delete data on this one. But of course, based on different methods. Okay. Let's go back over here. No, not here. Yeah. So what I can do here is I would like to create, not here, forget about the projects. I want to create Redux. Okay. And of course, inside Redux, we should have store.js file. And next to it, we should have items.js, items slice.js file. All right, items slice.js file. Now, store, it's going to be exact same thing. Constant or export constant store is equal to configure store. And we should have reducer. Okay. And we will worry about this one a little bit later. Okay, we'll worry about this one, adding these guys. But for now, we're gonna put the worry about this items slice. In the item slice, we definitely need to create a slice first, right? We have to create a slice first. So constant items slice is equal to, how do we create a slice?
Create slice.
Create slice. Create slice, it's coming from Redux.js toolkit, RTK, right? So create slice will take an object. Now that object should contain name first, right? Name, in this case, let's just put items. And what else do we need to? Initial state. Initial state, we can create it right over here, as we've been doing it all the time. Constant initial state, let's just call it data. Okay, let's just call it data. And maybe we should put a loading. Initially, it's just an idle. Okay, initially, we can just put as idle. Or maybe, yeah.
I also saw like when they're creating the initial state, they're also using like get initial state. and that get initial state comes from the create entity adapter. Is it like still using the kinda like this, or it's kinda old thing?
Oh, Redux get initial state. I did not heard about that though. Okay.
Get initial state comes from the create entity, yeah, entity adapter.
Mhm. Create reducer and so these reducer functions may be passed as case reducers to create reducer and create slice. They may also be used as maintaining helper functions inside of create reducer and create slice. Where is it coming from? It's part of API reference store setup. Create async dunk. It's next to it. Yeah, interesting. We'll manipulate. Oh, initial state books adapter and books adapter is create entity adapter, select ID, sort compare, blah blah blah. Wow. Okay. This is very interesting.
And inside of that create entity adapter, they also have the get selectors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
I
the
think, yeah, I think books adapter, right? Books adapter is created.
yeah, if for example, if you do books adapter dot get selectors, and inside of you will have state, and also you can
Oh, these are the selectors. Yeah. So it's gonna be books adapter dot selectors instead of book slice dot selectors. Oh, books selectors are here. Books adapter dot get selectors. State dot books. Hmm. Wow. Can create a set of memoized selectors based on the location of this entity state. I think yeah, this might be a good option to take a look into that, right? That's for the TypeScript, so we need to worry about the JavaScript portion. Come on, it's not showing the JavaScript version.
It looks same for like for watching in our code is like same thing.
Yeah, but yeah, it's including the type, but yeah,
Uh,
it's the book and book.id, books adapter and ab the title, sort compare.
we have the same logic in our internship. I just saw that code and didn't understand how it works.
it's very
So
confusing.
yeah, so instead of like this, I think it's just creating this object with the help of a create entity adapter. And it's just putting some basically create entity adapter is accepting an object, and object we have some selector functions. Keep the all IDs array sorted based on book titles. And then we're gonna have book ID and title. Book ID. Oh yeah, that's fine. We'll take a look into that later. But let's just assume that we have this guy right here. Okay. So the loading is actually the status. Okay, the loading is actually the status. We can definitely name it as status, or we'll just give it as loading. This, right? This option might have eventually. This might have a loading state. Okay. You know what? Let's just call it the status. Okay, loading is basically a pending state, and we can definitely have succeeded and failed, right? Based on the status that we get from API call, we can change these statuses, right? We can change these statuses inside our reducer function. But again, initial state will be initial state. Yes. What else do we need? We have reducers. Okay. But we're not going to place anything inside our reducers because we're not going to use these reducers are for synchronous updates. Right? These reducers are for synchronous updates. What we need to do to handle our async code in our Redux applications is extra reducers. This is where we handle our async logic, right? Async logic. Let me go back to my slide. I don't want to miss any slide over here. Okay, so here's the thing. We use okay, so let me just leave it over here as it is, like this. Okay. It's not an object, but we're going to put a callback function. Okay. Since I showed the create async thunk, I think it is time to create our use that function first. Right. So create async thunk is used to create thunks, and we can assign these names, right? Export constant, in this case, fetch items. And we're going to use create async thunk. And this one will get, this is a function which will get, right? This is how we create it. As you guys can see right here inside the function, we have 2 arguments, but it actually accepts 3 arguments, but third argument is optional. We can use it or we cannot use it for specific purposes. But in here, create async thunk accepts 2 arguments, 2 arguments, right? So the parameters for create async thunk accepts 3 parameters. A string action type says a string action type. Okay, so in this case right here, the first one will be a string action type. So for this one, items slash fetch all, right? Fetch items.
It's
Fetch
like
all.
you create by yourself. I mean, like,
Yeah, we're setting it by ourselves. Yes, this is manual setting it. Remember the actions that were generated by the create slice?
yes,
We were doing like this: export constant and some sort of actions. Okay.
yeah, reducers.
Yes, get names, for instance, and we're just doing items slice dot actions, right? And this get names was just a pure function that was returning what? An
State.
object action. Okay, this one was just returning. It was just a constant, for instance, get names. It was just a pure object, a pure function that was just returning an object. An object contained the type, for instance, right? Get names. And
You don't usually use type, right? The last
payload
time
on it there.
we have action and we have action and the state, right?
Yes, selectors.
No. Where we have done the project with the config, we didn't use any type get names, kind of like this.
Oh,
This-
no, I was just giving an example like this, right? In the Comfy project, Comfy e-commerce, we have assets and oh, it wasn't here. Let's take a look at Redux router right here. So Redux and the counter slice, right? Increment, decrement. These were the actions. Basically, these are the pure functions that return the type increment in this case, right? Or decrement.
But if you look your action itself, for example, increment, we have only state, or it's also alternately we can move the action itself.
Well, the action itself is an object. It contains the type, right?
And the payload,
And the payload, yes. The payload, it's optional.
yeah, it's optional.
For the get
But
names, if you provide something over here, for instance, A, that payload becomes A or just ID.
It's a question why we didn't use the type, for example, for our action. Because I don't know, like,
We didn't use a type because this increment was automatically generated by this create slice, right? As
the
an
type
action.
itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Increment is, as I said, increment and decrement, these are pure functions that return. If you invoke this function like this, oops, right? If you invoke this function like this, it will return something like this object. When we were dispatching in our applications, we were saying dispatch, and then inside, oh, come on, inside our, we're doing increment, and then invoking this function.
Yeah.
This increment was returning a pure object that contains the type increment and payload if you need be, if there is a need for payload. This is whatever you put over here, name will be the payload.
Payload.
Okay, will be the payload. But again, we don't have these guys for now because we're not dealing with
I saw that reducers that actions, it's returning the state. I thought it's gonna return that state like the new state, immutable.
yeah,
Am I
because
wrong?
yeah, it sounds like an immutable, but yeah, of course, yeah. We're getting the previous state and we're just updating returning the next state. But again, under the hood, right? Under the hood, Redux RTK uses immer.js, and we don't have to worry about creating the deep clone of the previous state and updating the state and
Yeah.
the state.
The question is, you are saying that now he's returning the type, the type and the payload. I saw that each reducer, it's an object, right? Each reducer, the object, it takes the previous state, changing and returning the new state. So then the reducer returning the new state, or is returning that object with a type and with a payload?
No, reducer is not returning. It's returning the next state only.
Yes.
State. Yep.
But you said right now that it's gonna be that returning the object with, I said, the type and then payload. Payload is optional, okay.
Yeah, the actions are pure functions. That these actions are generated based on the names of these reducers.
Yeah.
We have reducer functions that we specified, and those based on the names of these guys, our actions are generated. Now I say actions, but these action functions actually, right? Action functions, and these action functions, pure functions that just return an object that has a type and payload. When I say payload, not here, increment, decrement, right here, get number. No, not here.
Yeah, I understand this one, but you are always saying that it's returning the. I thought it's gonna return the new state, the next state.
Yes.
But
These
before you,
reducer functions are returning it, yeah.
yeah, this one is returning the result of that function is returning the new state.
Yes.
But then you are saying it's returning the object with a type and the payload.
No. Here's the thing. What are we getting over here, right? We're creating a to-do slice. All right. And last time we saw the to-do slice was a bunch of stuff. And one of them was to-do slice is an object that contains a lot of stuff. It contains a reducer, it contains actions, and the actions right here is returning these the functions right here. All of these functions are generated basically the names of these reducers.
The create slice, inside of create slice.
Oh yeah, inside of create slice right here, right? The names
Yeah.
of these reducers. But again, don't confuse the actions with the functions itself, the callback function itself. No, the actions generated out of these the to-do slice are pure functions right here. These functions are pure functions that only do, right? Pure functions that only return, as I said,
next state,
an object. No.
As I understand the pure function, it's his like the argument has a state and then action. For example, state and action, two things. He's taking the previous state, changing and giving you new state. And if you need actions, you will use it like the payload ID and something like this.
What I'm trying to say is that this is reducer function right here, right? Handle to do delete is a reducer function. We agree on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reducer function, and it has state and action.
Yep.
Okay. This handle to do same name, but it is coming out of to do slice dot actions. It's not coming from to do slide dot reducers.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. This function is completely different than this function.
I thought it's the same.
No, the name is same. The name is same. However, whatever as we see the actions, these are actually actions that we use inside the dispatch.
Yeah.
Are the actions that we use inside the dispatch. Now, again, since these functions that we use inside the dispatch, what exactly do we need the dispatch for? We inside our dispatch, we need, right? We definitely need an object that has a type, right? In this case, increment, okay?
And payload optional.
Yes, optional, right? Payload is optional. This is what we need for our dispatch. Now, these handle to do or increment, doesn't matter. They are returning this object. They are pure functions that return this kind of things. Okay.
So in our handle to do delete, you said it's the pure function. That function comes again from the reducer?
Yes, it is generated from the, no, it is generated by create slice, right? Create slice is creating this to do slice. And as soon as this one runs, this will generate inside, right? To do slice will contain actions. Okay. Basically, these actions are generated exactly same name as these reducer functions, but these actions are returning the object that has a type and payload.
So that handle to do delete,
Yes.
you are returning the empty. Instead of empty, it's supposed to be type and then payload. Handle to do delete 67.
67 right here. Yes.
Yeah, it's saying it's return object.
Well, of course, yeah.
It's gonna be type.
Yes.
And the type will be the same name, handle to do delete, right?
No, the type you can put anything. Delete to do or whatever.
No, it's supposed to be the same without reducer, no?
No. It doesn't
Then
have to.
okay, then why we do need the registers? Instead of registers, we have a function, for example, to delete. That way, when we are using that register, I thought that register and dispatch are actually like they are related to each other.
Wait a second. So to do, I need to go back to my to-dos when we are dispatching things. Okay, so when we dispatch. Oh, okay. So here's the thing. Yeah. You're actually right, Maqsad. Okay, so this naming right here in when we use configure store and create some the types, this types has to be start with the name. Okay, this type has to be start with the name, and then we need to put the reducer name like this. Right? It has to be reducer name like this.
And then I guess it's gonna be payload since it's deleting, and that will provide the ID.
ID, exactly. Yep. The payload will contain the ID like this. You're right. So this handle to do delete, as we said, right, is a function that will return this type like this. Now the type, the first name will be taken out of this, the name, of course, and then
reducer.
Of the reducer function. Yes, the name of the reducer function.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Hi, Azamat, can you go to item slice?
Yes, item slice, yes.
Okay.
This up until this guy right here, we know what we were doing, right? We do have initial state, we have name, initial state, and reducers. Now, in order to handle create async thunk, we do some logic inside extra reducers. That's what the documentation says. Whatever we are dealing with the asynchronous code, we have to put these reducer functions inside extra reducers. Now, as I said, create async thunk, this guy right here, right? We're putting manually. But over here, the actions that were created out of this create slice were generated automatically for us. If it was to-dos, right? As I said, to-dos slash delete to-do. But in here, we need to put the same name as this guy right here, items. You cannot put to-dos. Otherwise, it will look for to-dos slice. Since it cannot find it, then they're not related to each other. But we have to put items slash fetch all. As we said, this create async thunk accepts 3 parameters. The first one is a string action type value. Okay, it said action type, so we just need to put the string action type only. We don't have action object itself, just the type of the action. And a payload creator, it's a callback function and an options object. All right, so payload creator is a callback function. Okay, it's a callback function. Cool. So, and the third option is just an object, and we don't have to worry about that. All right. We put this object. What's gonna say now? All right. Show me. Show me. No. You guys don't need to worry about that part. Option 3. Now, if you somehow write a wait inside this function, then our function over here has to be async function. But there's 2 options again. We can definitely work with regular.then. Okay, we can definitely work with regular.then, or we can definitely work with await, async await. And so in here, we can just put async to make sure that this one is async function, and we need to do some logic over here. Now, this part is basically very generic, like it's we know how to handle this part, right? So constant response, or just the response, is equal to await fetch in this case. All right, so the fetch, where's my URL? Fetch the URL. Constant data is equal to await rest.json. Okay, then return the data.
So it's okay not to use a try catch like or something like that?
We can definitely put the try catch, yes.
Or I mean, my question is, it's normal. It's very common to use like this, or we always have to put inside the try catch.
Definitely makes sense to put inside the try catch. All right, so let's just try to put try catch and grab these guys, both of them, and put it right here. Okay, and then we'll just return the data. You know what? We'll just bring it over here. If I have anything inside, we'll just console.log. error. And you know what? If there's an error, we can just return the error too. Okay, we return the error because right over here, we are putting the status, and we can also put error over here. All right, error state as a null. And whenever we get error, we'll just try to display in the UI. But again, fetch items and create async thunk. Items fetch all async. Now we were able to implement create async thunk. Now here's the thing. A string that will be used to generate additional Redux action type constant, representing the lifecycle of an async request. For example, a type argument of users/request status, okay, will generate these action types: pending, fulfill it, rejected. Pending, fulfill it, rejected. And pending is just pending, loading state. Fulfill it is the success state. Rejected is the failure state. But we have to use these names inside our extra reducers. We cannot put like a pending. Of course, we need to put pending, but like a success or failure, the another term is for those is fulfill it and rejected. Now the pending state is users request status / pending. Users request status fulfill it, and users request status rejected. Okay, so these names are actually generated by the create async thunk based on the state of the request. Is it pending? Is it fulfilled? And is it rejected? Now, payload creator, okay, as we said, is the second parameter. Payload creator is a callback function that should return a promise containing the result of some asynchronous logic. It may also return a value synchronously. It may also return a value synchronously. So let's continue. All right, so this part is for the next class, right? We're worried about this create async thunk. Cool. So what's important to keep in mind over here in terms of async thunk? Give me 1 second, guys. Dispatching thunks for components. No. What was it here? Eh, What I was trying to show you guys. Wait, client get return response data. Yep, that's what we did already.
Today is the last class with you, Azamat.
Yes, apparently yes. But they asking actually to continue until you guys graduate. Yeah, they will put my name in for the next classes. Not sure when. But we'll see. Okay, so fetching data. Where's my thing? I'm trying to see reducers. Yeah, this is it. This is it. I was gonna show you guys what is actually this create async tongue is returning. Typing Redux tongues.
Async.
It was a returning state, like a item fetch, item ID by something like that. My goodness.
Can you just console.log return the data?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'll do that now. Using Redux, no. RTK, no. Yeah. Yeah, let's just console.log. Console.log. Fetch items. Yeah, demo projects.
Probably
No.
Redux has more more code
It does, yes.
than context API or something like that.
Yeah, you're right. So, of course, we have to return the reducer, right? Export default and slice that reducer, right? So, and then the selectors, we can worry about those selectors later. List of options, blah, blah, blah. We would like to just connect our store to the reducer now, okay? Reducer and items would be items reducer.
But do we need to use the extra reducers? Like if it's fulfilled, then
Yeah. We'll use that. Yes, we'll just trying to console log this the function that we created, right, out of crazy async tongue. We will connect these right into the extra reducers, but let's see what's gonna be our console log in the UI.
It will return the object.
Constant store, configure store, export constant. What expression? Oh, over here. Items slice. Okay. Of course, it's not going to console.log because our app.jsx or is still using this. Cool. So now we have to use provider from React Redux. Okay. And we have to put the store, and the store is coming from Redux store. All right. Fetch items. Create slice extra reducers has been removed. Please use the builder callback notation instead. Yes. Because of the fact that we put an object right here, it says don't use that anymore, right? Before they switched to callback function, they had an object, and inside the object we had a bunch of function names, okay, like create users, and it was just a callback function like this. Not anymore. Because create users, it was actually dynamically create users slash fulfill it. It was like this.
it's supposed to be create users or like fetch items.
Oh, I was just putting it as a sample, right?
Okay.
Oh yeah. Before it was something like that, but now they want a callback function. Okay, the callback function. Now inside that callback function, they say we have to put the builder. This is what it says. Builder callback function notation instead has been removed. Please use the builder callback function. Now this builder callback function, right, will contain a builder inside, and based on some cases, we have to put individual cases that we can get out of this fetch items thunk. Okay, so this fetch items is basically create async thunk, action creator, return dispatch, get state extra, and constant request ID options, blah blah blah. Basically contains a lot of stuff. But what I was looking for, which I can't happen to find it. Did I put it somewhere else? Did I skip?
Yesterday, Said explained us the extra reducers is also good for rendering, right? So we don't need to like use effect or something like that. It's just rendering by itself. Like, the slice or but I didn't get it. Is it extra reducer rendering or like create slice to do it by itself?
Yeah, so the extra reducers are used for handling the asynchronous code, but regular reducers are for just the synchronous code. But again, extra reducers is a callback function, okay, we have to use. And now we have to deal with individual state, okay, for individual state. Now with the builder, right, builder is coming. A builder is an object that has some functions and some methods inside, okay. Of course, one of them is add case, add default case, add matcher. We don't worry about those, but we have to invoke this function. And we have bunch of cases, right, for each individual state: pending, fulfill it, and reject it. Okay, pending, fulfill it, and reject it. But if I focus on thinking that my data will be returned anyway, okay, my data will be returned anyway, in that case, what I need to do here is so this add case, right, will get two arguments, two parameters. Let's just call them parameters, right? The first one is fetch items, the name of the thunk function, right? Async thunk function, and we need to put what case we are worried about right here. Fulfill it, we have rejected, and we have pending. These are the three cases that we need to worry about. Anything else, don't worry about them, okay? So in this case, let's just put the pending. And the second argument, as we said, is a callback function. Now, this callback function will get a state, right? We'll get a state. Now, fetch items, we're not doing anything, right? Like deleting or creating new data, right? That's why we don't need the action. We're just fetching the items, right? And trying to display in the UI. Right? The only thing we need is the state for this one. Now for the pending state, okay, for the pending state, is we know that because of the fact that we are using emer.js under the hood, we can just directly update our state. So what I would like to change over here is state that what I have in my state, initial data, status, and error. Okay, let's change the status to loading. Oops, I don't know why I put comma in there. Okay. At the same time, state that because yeah, let's just put error equal to null. Okay, we'll just try to clear any previous errors that were generated with other cases. But again, this is like .then promise chaining. We can put another add case, okay, in the same line. We're not doing anything. Just add case, add case, add case. Just like .then, right? .then. So in this case, fetch items that fulfill it and the callback function, right? The callback function will contain some action actually, right? Because this action is the result of what we are getting out of this create async thunk.
The data itself.
The data itself. Yep. The payload will be, yep, return data. The payload inside our action will be the actual data returned from this async API call, right? Async call. So let's just change the state first. Status to let's just call it success. And state.data, because in our initial state we have data. Now it was initial empty array. Now we can change it to action dot payload. Okay. Now nicely separates it. Now we have one more case. Let's just put it as this one rejected. Okay, in this case, rejected. This error right here that we are returning over here might contain some. This might be error object. Okay, this might be error object, and this object might contain some error.message. So because of that, we can update this status to failed. And the data, instead of data, we don't have to update the data. What we can update is the error. Right? Action payload. Okay, so it's not gonna be the payload, but it's gonna be error. Action dot error message.
Did you return that error in your async tag?
Yes, I returned the error. If you get the data, it's gonna be action dot payload, but if you are returning an error, it's gonna be action dot error. Now, our action object is basically changed, right? We have type and etc. The type is basically this guy right here, items that fetch all. Okay, and then we have payload if there is a payload, and we have error if there is an error. Cool. We're still console logging this fetch items. Cool. So let's try to display these items in the UI. Close out these projects. Right next to it, I will just call it items list.js.
Do you know that ChatGPT is down?
Is it down?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just trying to open right now, it's not working.
The ChatGPT was very impressed me yesterday. I saw like one documentary about ChatGPT. I saw like when I use the ChatGPT, it is programmed. I saw like that, but they are the people that answering our questions. And what they do is that their face is on the screen. So actually, I can work like if I'm smart, I can do the test and I can be hired. And so my face will be on the camera and there will be another. So each time I say something, I get the answer from for example, when I get the message, I will answer each time. So I do correction and my correction just, the ChatGPT will just save it. And I didn't know it. Like, can you believe that someone is asking and someone is answering it actually? Like, and what made me so sad that this ChatGPT is using someone's knowledge and they are making a lot of money on it. Like, can you believe that the people what they do work for ChatGPT, they don't get well paid, but the companies, they just hired someone, especially people like from smart countries, and they answer our questions and they just putting on the screen. It was
Wow.
really interesting. I didn't know that someone will be on the behind the scene and they will answer my questions, you know. And it is actually people. It is they went to the university. It's not like an programming or they just saving the whole data. It is not algorithm either. The people are smart. The smart people are answering my questions. So when I get the knowledge, I get someone's knowledge, not the algorithm or not the ChatGPT cell. And I understand, okay, then this ChatGPT or this AI also create a lot of workplaces. I mean, because think how many people should have answered from different field, you know,
Yes.
not only the IT, but even in the medicine, they need a doctors who can answer for the like. Let's say, okay, I have headache, you know, and
Yeah,
then
right.
then doctor has to answer me, right? Not just someone randomly, you know. Like I mean, wow, it's like very interesting documentary, you know, and you know, there's a Tesla also has like a self-driving a car. I didn't know this Tesla also people is doing that, you know. I thought it will just do like a robot or just programming. Of course, the programming, but people who is answering the question is does this job, you know. I don't know. They create a lot of workplaces actually.
Yep. All right, cool. So let's go back to our items list. Okay. So over here, I want to put these selectors first. Select items is going to be just a state, and we're just grabbing state that actual state that data. Okay, and select status is going to be status, and select select error is going to be state that error.
Before we put our selectors inside of our initial state, right?
Before we put what?
In the config project, we put our selectors inside of our the initial state, and then
I did not put my selectors inside initial state.
no, not now. The last time we did the project, like is loading, that is loading.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. All of them are inside, yeah, just like this initial state. Yep.
Yeah, we put it in the initial state and use selectors to get the data, the information.
Yes, yep.
Now,
State that data. Yep. State that.
It's the same, right? The selectors object.
Oh yeah, of course. Yep. Selectors object is the same thing. Now, what we can return out of here is that constant. Oh, sorry, I have to export it. Export constant, right? Object. Select items. It's going to be from items slice dot selectors. Select error. Select steps. Yeah, nothing has changed, guys. Items list. And what we can do here is constant items is equal to use selector, okay, and select items. Use selector and select items. Items list. Let's just put UL, right? LI instead of LI. We'll just need to map it our items, right? Items that map individual item. Okay, and we'll just return li that will have item.name, item.name, right? Because API endpoint contains the names of the items, name and ID. And for these LIs, we can put the key as item.id. Okay, item.id. So now we it is actually still pending right now, right? Because it's just pending. It is still loading right now, but it's just pending right now. It was still a pending state. All right, so we somehow need to dispatch our fetch items from our you guys remember, right? When we try to fetch some data, we use effect. Initially, if it's just a one-time roll, we'll just do fetch data, right? It's going to be just a async function, and we call this function, right? Some sort of like async function fetch data. And inside the function, we were doing some sort of async call, right? Fetch something like that. Same way, we have to dispatch right inside our use effect. What we are dispatching is basically whatever we created, fetch items. We have to dispatch. That's why we are exporting it. We have to dispatch this function that was generated using create async func. All right, and then because of the fact that we are dispatching it, right? The store will understand that, okay, it will come to the items that it will use this items reducer, right? And also our action type is items fetch all. Okay. And based on the extra reducers, it will decide which case, which state it needs to go. All right. But right now, actually, we're not dispatching anything. So we have to dispatch it right over here. So what we can do here is we can check the status first. If it's idle, then we can dispatch it. If it's not idle, there's no need to dispatch it, right? Based on the state values over here. If it is idle, then we can dispatch it and it will change to, if it's pending, it's going to change to loading. If it's succeeded, then it will be succeeded, etc. Success. Failure. Failure. Cool. So items list right over here. Of course, we have to constant dispatch. Use dispatch. Right. And here we can put dispatch over here. Now fetch items from items slice. Okay, dispatch fetch items, and we can fetch the items. I feel like we are not using. Oops.
Did we? Oh.
Yes.
And I guess we need the provider, no, from the store for our main J6.
We have a provider in the main.
Oh, we already have edit. Oh,
Yeah, provider store. Yes.
Mm.
And we do have store. Cool. Item list.js. Oh, JSX. Did I? Oh, JSX. Why did I put? Interesting.
Not found.
WebJSX 18. What is not found? Import items list from items list.
There's something wrong with fetch, maybe? Fetch function.
give us error 404.
You know what?
Volunteer.
Yeah, so I have to just restart it. Cool. All right. So we're using items list.jsx.
Azamat, can you please show me quickly in item slice that our select items? Can you scroll down to the
Select items, yes, selectors are here. State that data.
select items? We are destructuring selectors. Okay.
Yep. Item slice.selectors.
Okay.
Cool. So items list. Let's try to get constant status is equal to use selector, of course. Select status. Same way. Select error. Error. Okay. Select error and error. We can dispatch this guy, right? We can dispatch this guy if the status is idle. If the status is equal to idle, in that case, we can dispatch it. Now the status can change, right? Status, and we can put this dispatch as dependencies. Now the status can change, but of course, when we dispatch, we only dispatch when the status is idle. Because of the fact that initial state, the status is idle, right? The status is idle. That's why we are dispatching. But if I change this the status to something else, for instance, loading, okay, we're not going to be fetching it. Idle, in that case, dispatch it and get the data. But of course, right over here, based on the error, we can display some additional data, right? So if the status is equal to failed, okay, if the status is failed,
I guess it's failed.
When it's going to be failed, we're manually setting it as a failed when we get rejected. Okay, when we get rejected, we are setting it as failed. So in that case, we will just return. Let's just return a paragraph that says error. Okay, and that error we can display the message as like this. Okay, this error is coming from this error right here. What if in the case of the loading? Okay, in the loading, we can just display loading. Otherwise, just return the data. All right, so let's refresh. As you guys can see, you see that right here, loading, and we're displaying the data. What if there is a problem with the URL? If I change something to 2, save it, loading. Okay, so it says not found, items.map is not a function. Okay, so somehow we are not able to set the
I have a question. If you go to the items.list, can you please go to items.list? For example, that loading will come after, it's gonna be after idle. I mean, like the first it's idle, right?
Yes.
And when it's idling, it's dispatching the fetch items. But I think it's supposed to be loading first and then idle, no?
Yeah, idle means it's just initial state, like
Yeah, that initial step will be like always the first one. The status always gonna be initial state. Then loading will not come up and like when the loading is supposed to
loading is pending right here. When it's pending, right? Fetch items will have a pending state. In that state, we need to change the status to loading. It's just pending because we would like to see the spinner when it's loading.
Okay, what is the success then?
Success is fulfilled.
No, I mean we don't have that status.
Oh, the status for success is just no, we don't have it. So it's just right here, return value.
How it's gonna understand it?
Because right here, if I match this failed, then I will just return this guy right here.
I understand for this one. I understand for the loading. It's when we are waiting our finish the fetching. The first one, the idle will just run that our fetching, right? The first will run our fetching, but the second is gonna be if it's failed. The third is gonna when we're waiting that our the fetching will finish it, but very success.
Well, the success.
Or if this two is not gonna work, the last one will come up, or how? I mean, like,
I see what you're saying. So in that case, instead of idle, you're saying that if it's loading. So in the loading, we can just display this one. And then this one should be loading. So instead of putting 4 states, we can put 2 states. That is sort of 3 states. Okay, so loading, yeah, that's fine. Items, and if it's loading, then status is loading, fetch items. But of course,
then it's supposed to be return loading.
Yeah.
No, I guess before was right. I mean, like, this our return is inside of. I'm confused.
No. Turn loading. Okay. In another case, if it's success, just return. It's right here. Oh, it's still fake. Oh my goodness. All right. So refresh, loading, and as soon as we get the data success, then you can display the data. All right. Just like you said, we have initially it's loading state, and because of the fact that we have loading state, we are dispatching to fetch the items. All right. If it's loading state, we're just returning this loading. And once we dispatch something items, we fetch the data and we are updating our state, right? We fetch the data and it's going to be fulfilled and we are updating our state. State that data is being updated with action that payload. Now the whole component gets re-rendered. And in this case now, also the status is changing, right? If it's fulfilled, the status is changing to success. So in the status over here, the success, and that's why we display the data. We're not returning anything else. We're just returning this guy. All right, this one definitely makes sense now. So loading, yes. If status failed, blah, blah, cool. I guess we can just leave it as it is previously, right?
Okay.
But in this case, we have put it over here, grab this guy and put it right over here. What did I do? Yeah, it's loading right here. Refresh, loading, and displaying the items.
Do you need to change the status, or it's still okay?
Oh no, we don't have to change the status. Status is already being changed, but we're just not using the success. That's it. In previous case, we were using success, but in this case, yeah, in previous case we were success, but we were not using loading, right? We were using loading only if the status is loading, then fetch items. Okay, so how about we take a break and we'll try to do some modify this code and try to make it CRUD, right? We'll just put some couple buttons, edit and delete, and we'll try to add additional cases for this builder.
Okay.
Each items, we'll try to do create item or delete item or something like that. Edit item. All right, I'll see you guys after 10 minutes. Timer. I thought Aziza was in the class though, right? Did she join and maybe she left? Yeah, that's fine. If you guys here, we can continue working on this project, right? I mean, we don't have to. What I was trying to say is that let's just put list of items. If I refresh, the whole thing will be refreshed. What I can do here is put let content, okay, is equal to null initially, and I can change the content based on the value over here. So instead of returning it, right? Instead of returning it, I will just put content is equal to this guy, and content is equal to this guy. Yes. And in other cases, right. In this case, I will be using success. Content will be this guy over here. And then we'll just use content over here. List of items, refresh, loading, and we see the content. Cool. So in the case of these guys right here, item name, I would like to put button, and let's just make it edit. Another button for deleting it. Wait, do I have React Strap installed? Why do I just turn this into button? Interesting. Color is it primary? Yeah. Just leave this one as secondary. And this is going to be.
We can also change the size. I guess it's S, right? Size
Size.
S or XS? Ah, small.
Excel. Yeah, so the size doesn't matter right now. It should be fine. Yeah, so medium size or regular size should be what colors? Copy this guy. Yeah, so color is going to be. Oh no, danger.
It looks so ugly.
Yeah, I think should have just kept it as previously, but that's fine. Li, so we can put input over here. And then another button, add item. Okay, add a new item. Why did I put over here? Just put it. Cool. So I can put right all the functions right over here. You know what? I will just put it right above here because we'd like to see closer to our things. The constant add item is equal to is callback function. Okay. Let me save it, and it's going to be delete item, edit item. Edit, delete item. And all of these guys can be one click, add item, danger, one click, delete item, one click, edit item. All right, let's try to do the delete portion first. Delete item. Now, of course, when we are dispatching, we set fetch items, right? And we're gonna have, we need to dispatch, okay? Fetch items, we need to dispatch delete item inside our delete item over here.
You can do directly.
Because of the fact that we need ID of that item, right? What we can do here, callback function, anonymous callback function, delete item, and then we can pass the item.id, item.id. Right? And then we can get the ID over here, and then we can pass the ID over here. Delete item.
What if you will do the dispatch inside the phone click, then put the delete the item like? No, you cannot. Like we did in the config inside the phone click, we put dispatch, then
over here.
yeah,
You can definitely do that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
and you don't need that all constants.
Oh no, we don't need these guys. No.
Yeah, you can copy that line 32 and put inside the phone click.
Yes. But the things that for this purpose, yes, we can definitely do that. Right. For editing and add items, we will have additional logic inside our function. That's why I just wanted to keep it in a separate file, a separate place. But it's not going to hurt us, right? Since we can definitely run our logic anywhere. Let's try to delete. We'd like to rename it to remove item over here, and it's going to be delete item function. Right, the thunk inside our item.slice. But of course, remove item. Let's just put it right over here. Okay, I'm gonna listen to you, Max. Short code. Dispatch delete item. We don't have the
item.id supposed to be.
Yeah, you're right. Item.id. Thanks for that. Items slice. Okay. We would like to get that from delete item from our item slice. We don't have it. That's why it's complaining about that right now. But again, what we need to create over here is delete item. Okay. We need to create delete item inside our slice. Now, what happens in terms of the ID? Where do we get the ID? Same place, right? Right over here. The ID will be automatically populated over here because this is actually the payload creator contains args, and the first one is args. That args is coming actually from the ID that we are passing. Okay, whatever we are passing when we are dispatching, okay, as an argument over here, that's gonna be inside our async. So since we are passing delete item.id, now that async function will grab that parameter ID over here. Okay. So fetch URL, take items should be fine. What do I need in terms of the method delete? I need an options, right? And inside options, I should have the method called delete. Okay, and I need to pass. Actually, the method, yeah, the method delete should be fine. But of course, in the URL, I have to add the ID at the end like this, right? If I'm deleting some ID. That's what our mock API says over here. So if I do fake items edit, it says right over here for posting, for deleting right here, I have to add the ID at the end with the slash, okay? And then I need to provide the method as an option. As an option over here, method delete. Async ID, URL. URL is items, maybe plus slash plus ID. And then method is delete. Delete item. Yep, we are okay. So delete item is coming from items slice, and we do have delete item.id. Oh, I forgot. So we created our function, but we forgot to put it as a case. Total forgot. I apologize, guys. So add case. We have to. Oh, what's going on? We have to add case. All right. What case we are adding? Now we can skip depending the rejected for our delete item. Okay. So we have to put delete item over here, and let's just put fulfill it. Okay. It's going to be fulfill it. And now we can just put slash comma, and then we'll have a state. Okay. And we're going to have action. Now, when we are deleting it, right? When we are deleting it, which means that we already have a data over here. Oh, sorry. Our initial data is changed. Okay. Our initial data is changed. We can manipulate our state variable this way. Okay. So when we are deleting it, as a return value, right? As a return value, it returns what? The deleted item itself, right? It returns the deleted item itself. It's not going to return the ID of the deleted item. It will just return the deleted object itself. Okay, so it will contain inside action, action.payload. There's two options that we can do in order to update our data. We can do state.data is equal to state.data.filter. Okay, item, and basically item.id does not equal to action.payload.id. Okay, action.payload.id. Builder at case cannot be called with two reducers for the same action. What action? What action? Delete item. Oh, sorry. Fetch. We gotta change the naming of over there. Okay. In this case, we'll just put it as delete. All right. We need to change the name items/delete. This one is for items/fetch all. If I delete this guy right here, see, it's gone. But the thing is that I'm deleting it, right? Cool. Yep. So we were able to delete from API endpoint, and at the same time, we were able to update our state variable, state.data. Are we clear here?
Yep.
All right. What we can, I mean, we can, this one for deleting is only the case of fulfill it. We can definitely add additional cases, right? For pending or rejected. And do the same thing as these guys right here. Change the status to success, change status to failure, blah, blah, blah. Right? But it's up to you guys. But for now, let's just focus on, okay, with one fulfill it thingy. All right, so what can I do for create? Create item. Create item, it's gonna be create item. We also have edit item. Edit item, just edit. For creating, we need to do post. And of course, we have to provide data where? For creating, we have to provide the data. Basically, for creating item, we should get the brand new item. Right? We should get the brand new item. And then our data will be inside our body, and we need to stringify first. Of course, we will exclude this ID from now, but when we are editing, we need that ID. And this is going to be let's just use put. Patch, we pass the ID at the same time inside our body. Based on that, stringify. New data maybe, or new item. Updated item. Updated item.id. Updated item.id. And create item is just an item. Yeah. Async item, post add item. Fetch URL. Method is post body, and this one is method put body JSON stringify update item, etc. Delete is fine, and edit. Let's try to do the create item now. Okay, so this was edit, this was create. Take this guy right here and add another case. Add case, create item dot fulfill it. Okay, create item dot fulfill it. Now, this will contain state and action. Okay, we are creating in our API endpoint, but we have to update, right? Based on the return value, we have to update our the previous state. Okay, so it's going to be state. Basically, we just need to push the new item into our what? Action dot payload. Action dot payload. Create item, fulfill it. Yep, create item. Create async item, create async thunk items, create async. We're getting item and we're just passing the item inside the body of our request, and method is post. Cool. Let's go back to our items list. I want to use, input ref for this one. Constant ref is equal to, not in constant, yeah, let's just use ref is equal to use ref. Okay, and now, well, for this input right here, I'll put the ref is equal to ref. Okay, ref is equal to ref. Add item, right over here, I would like to console.log ref that current that value. If I type something and click add item, as you guys can see, this is my edit item, edit name. That's coming from current that value, all right? Current that value. So for this add item, dispatch, create item. Okay, create item is coming from our slice, and I can pass, of course, I have to pass what? I have to pass an object. And name is going to be ref.current.value. And I would like to reset the value of my input with null. Right? So text 1 at item text 1. Name 7. It did add, but somehow it did not accept our the name, right? It did not accept the name. Dispatch create item. So let's check it out. Create item, items that create async item. We do have item, and we set console.log. Okay. These guys. Create async thunk, blah blah blah. Yeah, the name is this guy right here. We're providing the name, and it's the name by itself. Oh, because you guys know why? Edit. The name is string, yes. And the ID will be provided automatically to me. What's going on here? So the item, we are getting a with URL. It is post JSON that stringify item. What might be the problem here? Await fetch URL method post body JSON that stringify item. Oh, I made a mistake, guys, actually. Or maybe not. So the username, okay, so item. Item contains name. Is it complaining about the headers maybe? Let's try to add some headers over here. Content type application JSON. You gotta be kidding me now. Whoa. So apparently we have to put these headers. So delete this guy, delete this guy, delete this guy. Text 1, text 1, text 2, text 2. This mock API definitely requires to include these headers. Content type application JSON. We're sending as a JSON, okay, because we are doing JSON the string by and putting the item. But I don't think it will accept if I send it as just straight item itself. Yep, name 9, it's not accepting it. Typical thing, we need to include headers, and there's other headers too, but this should be sufficient for us to keep working on this project.
Azamat,
Yes.
instead of headers, you put the content type. What is it, the content type?
So the content type is basically telling that we are sending out JSON data from our application. Okay, so some other types might be like HTML, might be like text or XML. Okay, so in this case, we're sending JSON data, and the backend side of this mock API, the server side, will read this content type and will accept the data that's coming from this within this body as a JSON data, and that's why it's just posting it.
Is it necessary to put, or it's like optional?
It's for this one, it's necessary, yes, because we are using the third-party backend server.
What if we use like the Axios or like this? I think we still need the headers too.
It doesn't matter actually. It definitely doesn't matter whether you use Axios or not. Let's just use Axios for this. Axios, what's gonna be now? It's gonna be
Okay.
post.
Oh, it's post, yes.
Okay, Axios.post. But of course, I have to. Is my Axios installed? Hopefully, it's installed. No, come on. It is now. Okay, so where's my create Axios? Yeah, let's go. Axios from Axios. Axios.post. We put the URL.
You don't need that method.
Do we need this second option for Axios? With the post, I think we need to add just the item itself. Axios.post URL, and of course this response, we don't have to convert the
JSON.
It will just return rest.data. Constant, oh no, return, sorry. Return rest.data. Oh, interesting fact. With the Axios, we don't have to provide JSON stringify or the headers, content type application JSON. That is specific to the fetch. That is specific to the fetch. With the Axios, we can definitely finish up without any headers included. It's interesting that the backend server is responding in a different way if you use Axios. Or maybe this Axios, it automatically identifies this item, something like that.
Because now I'm checking that our Josh project, we are using Axis, but we never used that content type. That's why I was wondering.
Yeah, with this Axios, we just don't, I guess we just don't need have to provide these headers. Because there's no place to provide the headers though over here, right? But because the fetch, the first argument is URL, the second one is the options. Within the options, we are providing method, post, and body, and then headers. But with Axios, the post is over here, the method is over here, and URL and the item that we are sending it.
Okay.
Yep, Axios can be definitely. Yeah, it's gonna be very easy for these guys too, right? So Axios will contain Axios.delete, and we'll just provide the ID as a second argument. All right, cool. So let's just delete this guy. New item, delete, text1, text2, add item, cool. So where am I console log? I think I console log a lot of places. Anyway, that's fine. Oh yeah, right here. Editing. Edit. I would like to use the same input as an edit. Okay, the same input as an edit. But the thing is that if I'm using the same input, somehow I have to change this button too. If I'm in the edit mode, I have to change this button to submit edit. If it's just the initial without the edit mode, it can be just add item. Do you guys agree? I'm trying to minimize the code in here. So what I would like to do here, okay, edit item. Maybe right over here, just say constant edit or edit item, editing item, set editing item, use state. All right, let's just name it as null initially. Okay, editing item. So when I'm displaying this button over here, specifically this button right here, I would like to check this editing item first. If editing item is not equal to null, then I would like to display this button by itself. If it is null, so if there is something, right? If it's not null, then I would like to use submit editing. Oh my goodness, submit edit. So of course I have to create submit edit function in here, similarly as I have right here. Submit edit. All right, submit edit. When I'm submitting, right? When I'm submitting, for submit edit, guys, for submit edit, this is the function that I will be dispatching. All right, this is the function that I will be dispatching. But this edit right here, with this edit item, I will be just changing the edit this editing item, basically editing mode. Submit edit add item. What happened here? Editing item. Submit edit. Why is it showing both of them? Editing item not equal to null. Oh, I have three buttons right here. Okay, so editing item not equal to null. Since it is equal to null, vice versa. Okay, vice versa. When I click this edit item, this guy right here, I want to put this text over here and change this button to submit edit. Okay, so when I click this edit item function, what I would like to do here is basically, but in this case, I need to make it anonymous and pass the item. Okay, do you guys agree? I have to pass the item first, right? So, and now in here, I can do ref dot current dot value is equal to item dot name over here. Item is coming from here. Item dot name and set editing item with the item itself. So if I click edit, right, text is coming over here and my button is changing. Edit, text is coming over here and my button is changing. But when it comes to the submit button right here, okay, same thing. Come over here, but in this case, the value will be right. The ref current value will be null, and this item is going to be null too. So submit edit, right? Back edit, submit, edit, submit. When I'm submitting, I have to dispatch it, right? I have to dispatch it first and then clear our state variables. What am I dispatching here? Do I have any async tongue for this one? Edit item. Oh, it's gonna be the same name though. Let me just rename it to edit item function over here. So dispatch edit item function, invoke it, and I need to provide the item itself. Right? In this case, since editing will be my item, okay? Editing will be my item. That's why I will just provide this editing item. And then I will just reset my styles. So I do have edit item function and I don't have edit over here. I don't have case for that. Edit item function, fulfill it, state that action. Okay. What exactly am I doing over here inside my edit case? Now, inside my payload, I do have my item. All right, inside my payload, I do have my item. Somehow I need to find because this data contains array of objects, right? Initial data contains array of objects. By ID, I have to find the index, or I can find the item itself and then update it. All right, edit item. So what I can do, constant current item is equal to state.data.find, okay, item, and item.id is matching with what? Action.payload.id. Okay, if it's matching, then current item that name is going to be action dot payload dot name. All right, this is the first part, or constant index is equal to same thing, find index, Actually, just copy paste over here. Paste over here, find index, right? Item, matching with the ID. Oops. And now I can do state dot data and put the index over here. Okay, is equal to action dot payload. This is the second option. Both options definitely work for both in both cases. So edit. All right. Edit item function and editing item. Editing function updated item.
You are using the ref. Is it the use ref?
Yes.
Why you didn't put the ref inside of input?
Oh my goodness, what am I doing? You're right. Yes. I don't know why I put the editing item over there. Right here. Ref.current.value because that's the value. It updated, but it just put the same value because I put the editing item, right? But this is the correct way, guys. I apologize. So edit. All right. Cannot set properties on the undefined setting name. What? 105. Current item. Constant current item state that data that find item that ID is equal to action that payload that ID. We find the current item and then we're just doing current item that name action that payload that name. Cannot set properties of undefined setting name. Edit. Oh, ooh. So basically, it's not able to find the ID of. Okay, so when we are passing for our edit function right here, items edit slash updated item. So this one is the updated item. Fetch URL. Oh, okay. Again, headers. I bet this is definitely related to the headers. No? Cannot set properties on the finite setting name. Console.log. Oops, updated item. Oh, whoa, interesting. So the updated item, it says it's not an object. Updated item says text and 1 to 2. Why is it? What are we doing wrong over here, guys? When I click submit edit, oh, guys, you're not telling me. It was supposed to be name like this. Okay, edit item function at the same time, the ID. We have to pass the ID. So the ID is going to be, okay, editing item dot ID. Yeah, should be good now. Here we go. When we are sending out this data we were supposed to send out as an object, not the ref current at value. The ref current at value is just the text inside it. Edit this guy. Yes.
Can you scroll down a little bit? In return, thank you.
Yep. Data item contains this guy right here. Okay, any questions, guys? Any questions?
No questions.
No questions.
All right. All right, then this is how we deal with, how we use create async thunk to deal with API calls in our Redux applications. Next class, we'll try to see a better way. What I mean by that is, now you guys know that we created the status and error over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for each cases, we were changing those state and statuses. With the help of RTK query, right? With the help of RTK query, we don't have to deal with those. RTK query helps us to skip that part, okay? RTK query simplifies data fetching for Redux applications. We saw the sentiment, no, right here. With the patterns that we used with the create async thunk to fetch data, dispatching actions with the results managing request loading state in the store, right? In the store, we had the loading or status or error, and normalizing the cache data to enable easier lookups and updates of individual items by ID. In this section, RTK query, a data fetching and caching solution. It provides also a caching solution designed for Redux applications. It definitely simplifies the process of fetching data and using it in our components. Now, when we use Redux RTK query instead of create async thunk, we don't have to specify all of these in our application, because RTK query will provide, as a result of those queries, it will provide us the loading state and error state and success data state. But of course, that's for the next class. I'm not sure what is used in your current application. Do you guys remember? Is it create async thunk or RTK query?
It's async thunk for sure.
Okay.
And it's also the old version.
All right. Overview. RTK query is a powerful data fetching and caching tool. It is designed to simplify common cases for loading data in a web application, eliminating the need to handwrite data fetching and caching logic yourself. RTK query is included in the Redux Toolkit package, and its functionality is built on top of other APIs in the Redux Toolkit. We recommend RTK query as a default approach for data fetching in Redux applications. Just like it says, right? They recommend to use RTK query as a default approach rather than other thunk versions or options that we have for Redux applications. Oh, I think these are the problems that were faced without, so before they create the RTK query, originally Redux didn't include anything built in to help completely solve these use cases. Even when we use create async thunk together with create slice, there's still a fair amount of manual work involved in making requests and managing loading state. Yes, that's the thing, guys. With create async thunk, right, we have to create individual thunks like this, create async thunk. Right, we have to create like this. In the case of RTK query, everything can happen inside this X-ray reducers. Everything can happen inside this X-ray reducers. Again, we'll take a look into that next class. Try to practice what we learned today. Okay, try to create thunk functions with create async thunk, and remember these names. We have to put them at. I mean, the second part is custom, right? Manual. I mean, you can put anything, but these items needs to match what we have for our for our slice.
Azamat,
Yes.
do you have a time? I just want to quickly ask some suggestion from me about that of my internship. If you have a time, like it's not gonna take too much time.
Sure. Yeah. Give me 1 second. All right. I think I stopped.
Can you see it?